All right. You tell me when we're started, or have we already started? Maybe we have.
Yeah, go on.
All right, we're already here. Well, hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to our webinar event about folinic acid and leucovorin. My name is Dr. Jared Skowron, and I'm really excited to be here. And I wanted to quickly introduce myself for those of you who don't know me. I'm an international autism biomedical doctor. I've been working with our kids for 22 years. I'm from the U.S. Here in my home state of Connecticut. I've been voted best holistic pediatrician for 7 years in a row. Write some books on natural medicine for kids, and really try to educate everyone about what autism is, how autism presents, why it's a medical condition, and what we can do to help our kids on their road to recovery. And so my company and my clinic and our vitamin line is called Spectrum Awakening. And Spectrum Awakening kind of came out of my practice. So again, I've been practicing for 22 years. About 10, 11 years ago, I was using a lot of natural therapies and vitamins and amino acids and such to help my kids, but I couldn't find the products and supplements that I really wanted. I couldn't find the quality. I couldn't find the dose. I couldn't find the right forms. So I decided to make my own. So I created Spectrum Awakening as a vitamin line for my practice. And then we took it from just my clinic to online and global, which has been great because we've been able to help so many more kids along the way. So, I really, and this is how Spectrum Awakening came about. We make everything gluten-free and dairy-free, and we try to make things powders, and we know there's taste issues. So we try to make everything decent tasting as possible. So this has kind of been my road for a couple decades is helping our kids as much as possible, getting the treatments to you as easy as possible, and educating you guys on what autism is and how you guys can help your kids. So what we're going to be talking about today is, of course, leucovorin and folinic acid. It is all the rage. It's become massively popular this year, and I'm glad. I'm glad it's really gotten awareness in the global autism community as a way to help your kids. Now, I've got this slide up because when I talk to patients in my telemedicine practice, and I've got a telemedicine practice, I love it. Ever since COVID, everything is online now. So I can talk to people, here in my hometown or in Europe or in Asia or anywhere. And it's great because now there's no restrictions on who I can help. And when I talk to my patients and I say, hey, what are the 3 most important things you want for your kids? I often get these as the top 3: more language, better behavior, and eventually independence, because we as parents are not going to be here forever, and our kids are going to be grown up and they need to take care of themselves if we're not here to take care of them. Okay. Now, I'm the father of a 13-year-old neurotypical girl, and you know what? Parenting is a struggle. Whether you've got neurotypical, it's usually a lot more struggle when you've got one on the spectrum, but it's a journey for us all. And we want to help our kids. We all have the same goals for our kids, which is growing up and enjoying life. And that's it. Okay. So we're going to be talking about speech today. Now, here in the U.S., I'm based in the U.S., leucovorin, the medication, and folinic acid have gotten a lot of popularity for a few reasons. Number one, back in February and April, there were some news articles about it. First in the Daily Mail back in February out of the UK. And then here locally in April, some of our big news stations had some news articles about this. So let me talk about this substance that is becoming so popular. So there's a vitamin, and that vitamin is called folinic acid. Okay, it's similar to folic acid. It's similar to methylfolate or 5-MTHF. We'll get into those details in a little bit. But the vitamin is called folinic acid. Now, that was discovered back in the 40s, okay, back in the 1940s. And then here in the U.S. in the 1950s, it actually got approval from our science drug group, which is called FDA. They approved folinic acid back in the 1950s as a treatment for colon cancer. Fast forward to 1979, folinic acid became one of the medicines on the World Health Organization's essential medications list because it is so effective and so safe. All right. Here in the States in the 80s, folinic acid got approval to reduce the side effects of other chemo. And folinic acid as a vitamin here in the US is sold over the counter. There is also a prescription form called leucovorin. I know in other countries there are different names. I had a patient in India who got something called Leucovin, not leucovorin, Leucovin. same stuff, different name. So this stuff is available in a lot of different forms. All right. Now, back about 20 years ago, the first research studies kind of associating folinic acid as helping with autism started. And, more and more research studies came out the past couple decades. Currently, there's over 50 research studies that mention folinic acid in autism, and most of them are pretty similar, where they talk about folinic acid improving the language and the mental function of our kids, okay, which is great because this is what we want, all right? This is a little pathway. We're going to be doing some science today, so buckle up. This is a little pathway of how folate is metabolized in the body. Okay, so if you look on the left side of your screen here. Oh, and actually, I want to stop right here, pause, and give a side note. There, you should have a toolbar on your screen. One of the buttons is Files. Okay, so what I want you to do is click that Files button, and on that Files button is an ebook where you can download a free ebook that I've written about folinic acid, just to have something tangible that you can read later on and pass on to husbands and others. So back here to our slide, if you look in the top left of this, we have folic acid. That's the vitamin we're all familiar with. That's in our prenatals. There's folate. That's folic acid in food, okay? That goes through some genetic changes through a gene called DHFR and MTHFD1, not very popular genes. That form then goes and becomes its final active form called methylfolate, or 5-MTHF. That uses the MTHFR gene. Now, the MTHFR gene is really popular nowadays because it's that final step in activating folic acid into its active form called methylfolate. Okay. Now, you can also see on the screen here on the right side, folinic acid. So folinic acid, as a form of folate and folic acid, kind of enters this system in a different pathway, and it goes through another gene called MTHFS, which then goes through the MTHFR gene to become methylfolate. So just so you've got all these buzzwords kind of in your brain, and if you are interested in genomics, we've got the genomics that are associated here with that whole pathway, okay? Now, this slide here is a lot better on understanding where this all comes from, okay? Or how this affects our kids. So this slide's going left to right. So on the left, we've got the folinic acid and the 5-MTHF, the methylfolate. Okay, that's floating around in the bloodstream. That needs to cross over into your brain for it to have function in your brain. Okay, so it has to, we've got this barrier in between the blood and the brain called the blood-brain barrier. And, only certain things are taken through it. We don't want just anything getting into our brain, like infections and toxins. So the brain has a very tight wall. Okay, so methylfolate can sneak into the brain through this tunnel called the folate receptor. Okay, and folinic acid goes through a different door in the brain called the reduced folate carrier. Now, I mention this because this is why folinic acid is so effective in our kids, because a lot of our kids, that tunnel that brings methylfolate into the brain, that folate receptor, that tunnel isn't working. Now, that tunnel cannot be working for a few reasons. Number one, the genetics of that tunnel may be broken. Okay, and those genetics are called folate receptor 1, or FOLR1 if you're into genomics. You don't have to be. And so if that's not functioning because the genetics for it aren't working, you're eventually gonna have autism. Okay. Then the other issue is we can have our own immune system attack the folate receptor and destroy it. Okay. These are called autoantibodies, and specifically these are called FRAT antibodies. So if you've heard of the FRAT test, it looks for the immune system destroying this tunnel. All right. The other and the third thing that can affect it is mitochondrial function. Okay. This tunnel needs a lot of energy to bring methylfolate and carry it into the brain. So if you have a slow mitochondria, like many of our kids with autism do, this folate receptor isn't working for that reason. So now we've got 3 different reasons that this tunnel can't work. So a lot of people will take supplements with methylfolate or 5-MTHF because it's the active form, which it is, but it may not be getting into your child's brain. And this is where folinic acid, as a different form of the vitamin, goes through a different tunnel in the brain and seems to get into the brain better, more effectively, and have better outcomes for our kids. All right. So this, I'm going to pause, skip this here. a few research studies, which I'll just glaze over. There's so much research on folinic acid and autism. Here's one that talks about how it has a significant effect for speech, stereotypies or stimming, as well as hyperactivity and noncompliance. Here's another research study that said there was improvements in the Vineland behavior scale, the aberrant behavior checklist, the autism symptom questionnaire, behavioral assessment system. A lot of ways we look at our kids, they improve when they're on folinic acid, okay? And again, just so you know, I'm going to use the term folinic acid today. Leucovorin is the prescription form. Folinic acid is the over-the-counter. They're the same thing, okay? Now, there's a comment on dosing here. So I want to take the time now to talk about dosing. So a lot of the scientific research was started by Dr. Fry, who's the lead author on this study. And Dr. Fry is a great guy. You know, I lecture with him at different autism conferences. And a lot of his research stops or maxes at a dose of 50 milligrams a day. 50 milligrams a day is your top dose. Or if you're dosing by weight, 2 milligrams per kilogram. So if you've got a 20 kilo kid, you're giving him 40 milligrams. But everybody stops at that 50 milligram dose, regardless of how much you weigh. So if you're 25 kilos or above, you're going to take that 50 milligrams. All right. For those of you who use pounds in the US, it's about 1 milligram per pound. So if your child's 50 pounds or more, you're taking the 50 milligrams a day. Okay. Now, that's the max dose. And what I see a lot is physicians who are unfamiliar with leucovorin will prescribe leucovorin or folinic acid at the max dose and don't build you up. And this is where side effects can happen. So I'll tell you the dosing instructions I give my patients. We always want to start small, okay? Really small. So I will often give 1 milligram a day, okay? And then I'll go up to 2 milligrams a day. Give it up 3 or 4 days, go up to 3 milligrams, 4 milligrams, 5 milligrams. If you can get your child up to 5 milligrams without side effects, you're probably going to be able to handle higher doses. So this is when I start going 5 milligrams, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and going up to your max dose by weight or that 50 milligram total. All right. So I hope that makes sense. So we've got, or Spectrum Awakening has folinic acid, which MandiMart distributes. MandiMart is our exclusive distributor in Europe. So if you want Spectrum Awakening stuff, you can get it from us. We can ship it to you, but trust me, the DHL shipping fees are insane. Then there's the tariffs and the VATs, and it's becoming a headache, frankly. So I love working with MandiMart because we can get this stuff to you in Europe quickly, easily, and affordably. All right. So we've got two different forms. We've got a regular folinic acid, and then we have a high dose, and it's a bigger bottle. That's why I'm kind of holding my hand like this. The low dose or the original dose, we dose by 1/8 teaspoons. Okay. So you can take a 1/4 teaspoon and just kind of take half of that. And that half of that is about 1/8 teaspoon or 1 milligram. That's also equivalent to about 1/2 a milliliter. So about 1/2 a milliliter and 1/8 of a teaspoon are about equivalent. All right. So start low and look for those side effects. And then if there's no side effects, you can just sprint up. What are the side effects? The side effects are hyperactivity, irritability, and sometimes sleep problems. Okay. So look for those. Look for your child's irritability, behavior to change, that kind of stuff. And, you know, if that happens, we have ways to intervene. All right. So let me keep going on our slides and we'll kind of catch up. Sometimes I just get ahead of I get ahead of the slides. Here's another research study on folinic acid leucovorin, where change in the child autism rating scale was higher in the folinic acid group, as well as the child behavior checklist. So trust me, as a physician, it works when it works. All right. We're going to be talking about, well, what if it doesn't work? What can we do? But when it works, it can be mind-blowingly amazing. All right. So what does it do? First off, it is necessary to produce brain chemicals, neurotransmitters. So things like serotonin that help our language and help us sleep and help us be happy. It also increases dopamine, which is for our focus and concentration. All right. So folinic acid is already necessary for language development and for focus and concentration. It's also involved in DNA and RNA production and function, regulates blood vessel inflammation. If you're familiar with homocysteine, it'll help lower homocysteine. It regulates how the electricity fires in the brain. So this is how it's involved in seizures. And it also affects mitochondrial DNA and the function of the mitochondria. So it's a pretty important vitamin, right? Now, many people will ask me, and I'm going to start to get upset in a little bit, so be warned. People often ask me, how can I test my child to see if they need folinic acid? Is this a good treatment, is what they're asking me, okay? There is only one test, period. There's only one test that accurately measures the level of folinic acid or methylfolate in your brain. And that's how we're testing this medical condition called cerebral folate deficiency, okay? So if you see that, if you're interested in that, the only test that's accurate is a spinal tap. That's when you stick a needle, up around your spinal cord, extremely invasive, lots of dangers to it. I mean, when it's done right, it's done safely, but this is not something we're going to put our kids through. Okay. So I, as a physician, come from a standpoint of most kids with autism probably will benefit from folinic acid. So let's try it because there's very little downside. All right. We talked about the side effects of hyperactivity, but there's no major medical side effects. And the big reason we know this is because, let's go back to that history slide that I talked about. This stuff has been used since the 50s. Okay. This has been used for over 70 years with decades and decades and decades of just, we know it's safe. There have been no issues with it. We've been using it for all this time with millions of people with no downsides. So it's already been road tested for a long time. So we know it's safe. Okay. Again, there can be some emotional side effects, but from a medical perspective, physical, no concern. All right. So there are other tests out there that people get done, and that's great. If those tests are abnormal, it means you should probably try folinic acid. However, what I don't want people to do, and this is where I get frustrated in my practice, people will get one of these tests and say, oh, look, the test is normal. The test says I'm good, so I don't need folinic acid. All right. This is why we already talked about in one of those other slides that there are multiple reasons where folinic acid might be needed because methylfolate can't get into the brain. Okay. So you might get a frat test done to look for these antibodies attacking that folate receptor tunnel. All right. You might do an MTHFR test to see if you've got good MTHFR function so you can produce methylfolate. All right. If those are abnormal, yes, you want folinic acid. But if those tests are good, you still might need it because they are not 100% comprehensive and thorough testing on the folate levels in your brain. Okay. So I hope I made my point, because I don't want you to miss a potential treatment. I don't want you to convince yourself I shouldn't do it. All right. Everyone should try it. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. Okay. So if you do try it, what's going to happen? Well, one of three things are going to happen. Massive improvements. You'll be amazed. Your therapist will be amazed. The teachers will be amazed. It's great. All right. Or the side effects. All right. Maybe you'll get side effects with the benefits. Maybe you'll get side effects with no benefits, but it's that hyperactivity, sleep issues, irritability. All right. Or you may just see no change. And that happens. Some kids have plenty of folate and folinic acid and methylfolate in their brain. They don't need any more, and you're not going to see any change. Okay. So where it doesn't work for everybody, it works for so many kids. So many kids. Okay. But again, here's what you're going to see. Most of the scientific research says 12 weeks. So if you've done folinic acid at that max dose for 12 weeks and you've seen nothing, you're probably not going to see anything. Okay. Maybe we need to help with mitochondrial function. Maybe methylfolate would be a better solution. There are other ways that we can try to get this stuff into the brain. But, from a clinical perspective in my practice, this is either going to work right out of the gate or not. All right. This is a video. I hope I can show it. This is a video of a boy named Scout. Now, Scout is not my patient. This mom tried our folinic acid, took before and after videos of her child, and just put it on her social media and tagged us. So we don't even know who this is. They just got our vitamins on our website. It's like you guys buying our folinic acid from MandiMart, right? And seeing the improvements. So I'm going to hope this video works. But as a brief introduction to the video, the child is vocalizing. He's nonverbal, but he's vocalizing. He's trying to speak. And then the mom gave the folinic acid, and 1 week later, you'll see the changes. So I hope it works. Joe, I don't know if you're on this. I can't get this video to work. I don't know if you know how.
Do you?
If it doesn't work, that's
no, I don't know. Let me try and figure something out. I'll try and figure this out. You can continue, and then
I'll keep going. It's a cool video. It's a cool video if we can get it. If not, no worries. We can tag you guys or show it to you.
I'll give you a shot.
Right. That's all right. Thanks, Joe. All right. So if there are side effects, all right, again, it's irritability, it's sleep problems, it's agitation. We know what this is from. Okay. Remember that folinic acid is building brain chemicals, serotonin, dopamine, right? That's good. One of the brain chemicals it also builds is adrenaline. Now, adrenaline's our fight or flight chemical, right? So we want to bring that adrenaline level down. And we know, again, we know how the folinic acid is creating these side effects. So we know how to intervene. So I formulated a product called anger management. Now, anger management is our product that reduces adrenaline and glutamate levels in the brain. Okay. And so it can really help these kids that have all this built up fight or flight energy. So this is great to take with your folinic acid. Even if you're on prescription Leucovorin, you're getting the side effects with Leucovorin, you can take anger management with that. All right. Anybody who's getting B vitamin behavioral side effects. All right. You do B12, you do methylfolate, you do whatever, B complex, and your child's hyper and irritable and sleep problems. We know it's because of the adrenaline, and we know this is something that can really help. All right. Again, of course, this is available through MandiMart as well. So let's regroup. What do we know so far? All right. We know folinic acid has been used for 70 plus years. We know the research in autism has been around or started about 20 years. Lots of kids do amazing on it, right? Not everybody, but some, but when you do amazing, you do amazing. There is no comprehensive test that is non-invasive that's going to confirm for you that your child definitively needs this. Okay. You hear this talk about cerebral folate deficiency. That's just big fancy words for no folic acid in the brain. All right. The only way to diagnose that is with a spinal tap. We're not going to do that on any of our kids. You just give folinic acid and you see what happens. Okay. Because again, either amazing changes, no changes, or we've got some side effects. You've got side effects with improvements. All right. We want to, add that anger management product in. All right. A couple other ways, if you've been taking folinic acid, if you've been taking Leucovorin and you want to add on to it, all right, what I find really helpful and effective is providing the other nutrition that the brain uses to make these neurotransmitters. So we're talking about how folinic acid helps with brain chemical development, okay? It doesn't do that on its own. It actually combines with other nutrients, mostly amino acids, to create these brain chemicals. And this kind of goes back to understanding that we are what we eat. So the food we eat, the water we drink, and the air we breathe, somehow the body turns that into everything. Our bones, our muscles, our mood and emotions. It's pretty crazy stuff, okay? So we know what makes different brain chemicals like serotonin. So, and here's a research study on how serotonin levels in the autistic brain correlate to verbal ability and so voice processing. Okay, so the more serotonin I can get in your child's brain, the more they will speak. So I combine the folinic acid. Here's another research study. There's a higher prevalence of severe language impairment in those with low levels of serotonin and decreased serotonin production. So we just make more, right? Here's another one. We'll pass through that one. So hold on. I just want to go check one more slide before I back up. Okay, so we have a supplement called Super Serotonin Support. I don't have a picture. I was looking for a picture. I don't have a picture on these slides, but you take that Super Serotonin supplement with the folinic acid. Okay. You take them opposite times of the day. Folinic acid in the morning, serotonin at night. It's going to get into the brain and produce more serotonin and hopefully get more language. So here's a Facebook post from one of my patients, Charlie's mom, Jasmine, who said her son, Charlie, went from 0 words to 10 words by taking 2 tablets of our super serotonin every night before bed. I think this took her like a week to get there. But to go from nonverbal to 10 words in a week using 1 vitamin supplement. Okay. They even hadn't started folinic acid yet. We just started on the serotonin vitamins. It's really cool stuff. It's really cool when it works. This is kind of the science of how it works, if this intrigues you or not. On the left side, you see the protein tryptophan. That's the stuff in turkey that makes you happy and calm and sleepy. That eventually becomes serotonin, which eventually becomes melatonin. And you can see the term folate here in multiple steps of this. So a lot of our kids can't turn folinic acid and super serotonin into melatonin without, they can't turn like 5-HTP or a serotonin into melatonin without folinic acid. So you need that as well. So your kid may still be having sleep problems because we need that extra folinic acid to go to sleep. All right, that was a side comment. We'll skip past this because of time. It's not as important. So let's regroup and have a little summary, and then we can get to some live questions, okay? So again, we're all familiar with this vitamin folinic acid. It's available as a pharmaceutical, Leucovorin. It's available over the counter as folinic acid. Great stuff, okay? Kids with autism probably have lower levels of this vitamin in the brain, and that's contributing to a lot of the delayed development, a lot of the delayed language, maybe some behavior issues, okay? There are many causes of this. There is not one cause. So if you're testing, and I'm going to repeat myself, if you're testing to see, should I take folic acid? Don't bother. Just try it, because there are no major side effects, all right? If you get these tests like the FRAT test or the MTHFR and it is abnormal, yes, that's an indication you should take folinic acid. But honestly, in my practice, people say, should I get the FRAT test or the MTHFR? I'm like, we're going to try the treatment regardless. If you need motivation to try this, then let's do these tests. But I don't need any motivation to tell you should try it, okay? We talked about the side effects, the irritability, sleep issues kind of thing. You can combat that with our anger management supplement. If you see it, you can add supplements like our super serotonin to enhance the effect. Okay. All right. We believe, so this is the ingredient list of our super folinic acid product, which we distribute through MandiMart. We believe this is a little better than Leucovorin, and I'll tell you why. Again, Leucovorin is just a pharmaceutical form of folinic acid. So it contains folinic acid and whatever other non-active ingredients you need to turn it into a pill or whatever it is, okay? Our folinic acid powder is folinic acid, okay? But we also have 3 other ingredients. We have a little bit of vitamin D. We have a little bit of B12 as adenylyl cobalamin. That's the really rare form to find. And ATP. Now, ATP is the molecule of molecular energy that the mitochondria make. So we're trying to enhance that folate receptor activity by using all the nutrients that activate those tunnels into the brain. I really lucked out. I was able to work with a PhD from a university here in the US called Cornell. I found a woman who this is what she does. This is her research. And I got to talk with her for a half hour. I said, look, I want to make a folinic acid vitamin, but I wanted to get into the brain better. What do we need? And she said, these are the other things that are researched to work on the folate receptor, okay, and that other reduced folate carrier. So it's pretty cool stuff that we've been able to put this all together for you. So you're able to take it all at once, all right? Now, people will also ask me, hey, should I go get Leucovorin or should I get folinic acid? It really doesn't matter. They are the same, okay? Is our super folinic acid a little better because of the cofactors? You know, I'm a little biased and I say yes, but still, they're both basically the same. With Leucovorin, it depends where you live and what country you're in. You may need to get a prescription. Your health plan or insurance may cover it or it may not. Do watch out for taking it with gluten or dairy, because gluten or dairy may prevent the absorption of this stuff. And some forms of Leucovorin contain gluten or dairy. So if you are on a gluten-free, dairy-free diet and you're strict with it, then watch out if you do get prescribed Leucovorin. Depending on the form, it might have gluten and or dairy, okay? I like folinic acid over the counter because it's available to everyone. I'm crossing my fingers, everyone. Obviously, different countries have different rules and regulations, but here in the US, it's available over the counter. It's easy to use, and as a powder, you can adjust the doses. You're not kind of barreled into a Leucovorin prescription. You're like, oh, here's a 25 milligram prescription. I can't take 1 milligram of that. I can't, start low with that and work up. So this is where I like making vitamins as powders. You can adjust this for your kids. All right. So we just talked about a lot of stuff. And for those of you moms who are on here that are going to talk to your husbands, yeah, they're probably not going to pick up on it. So as I mentioned before, one of the main things that I like to do is educate. Okay. I am here to help you guys understand what is autism, how does it present as a medical condition, and what we can do to intervene. All right. And what we can do to help. So if you're interested in learning more, you can go to our website, which is spectrumawakening.com. We've got some free ebooks. You go to the ebook section and you add them to your cart. They're free. You check them out. I have a podcast that I record live every week on our Spectrum Awakening Facebook page. That's Thursdays. It's 12:15 Eastern time. So for you guys, probably 5 or 6 o'clock. But we are here to help. So come get the education on our website. But when you want to get the supplements, use MandiMart. And I really want to emphasize that, because the shipping issues we're having from the US to other countries, the customs and the tariffs and the fees, it's all a headache for us. Nobody wants this. We want to help you and your kids regardless, as easily as possible. So get your stuff through MandiMart, whether it's through their .co.uk or their .eu website, because they are our only distributors in Europe. And we want you to have the good stuff as affordably as possible. All right, Joe, that is did I breathe? I don't know if I took a breath.
No, I don't think you did.
But everybody, make sure you click that files button. It has a little paper clip on it, and download the free ebook on folinic acid, which is one of my 4 ebooks or something. But I'd love to answer some live questions. So Joe, I'm going to head over to the chat bar or the chat window. Anything you wanted to bring up before that?
No, nothing from me. I was just going to say we have had some questions in the chat. So everybody who wants a recording, we will have a recording and we'll email it out to everybody that registered for the webinar. So there'll be a bunch of people who aren't here actually, but they'll be getting a copy in their inbox. And anybody who is here will be getting a copy as well.
And Joe, I don't think you introduced yourself.
No, I probably didn't. I am the aforementioned Joe, son of Mandy, hence the name MandiMart. So I'm, taking care of things with the business, making sure stuff ships out, dealing with customer issues, handling that side of things, and scheduling awesome webinars with doctors like Jared here.
Thank you, Joe.
I'm very impressed with this. I know last time it was a bit hectic for us to do the webinar because it was a bit Poundland style. But this software is really, really cool. And it's made it a whole lot easier to administrate. So if we want to do some more webinars in the future on different topics, I think we're set up to actually do that now.
I think that would be great. I would love that. So Joe, again, I met Joe a few years ago through somebody in Europe, in Romania. It was Alexandra. And it's been such a great, relationship we have now. So Joe will text me and he'll be like, I need 1,000 bottles of folinic acid. Like, okay, we'll get it over to you. So we work really well together, and our ultimate goal is to get stuff to you and your child. That's all we want. Okay. So let me run through some of these questions. Liz asks, can the high dose folinic acid be bought from your website? Yes, the high dose folinic acid can be bought through MandiMart. My son is 7 years old. He has a frat test. He's positive, but we couldn't find Leucovorin. And again, Leucovorin is just the prescription name of folinic acid. So you can get folinic acid over the counter. It's the same thing, right? Lois said, yes, both the high dose and the regular dose folinic acid are available on MandiMart. Rachel says, is Leucovorin folinic acid worth trying for adults? 100%. Okay. And again, we're talking about kids with autism here, obviously. Everybody's brain needs vitamins. If you have an MTHFR polymorphism, you should be on folinic acid. Okay. I didn't tell this story during the slides, but I had 2 fun case studies in my office about this. One of them is a 40-year-old dad that has identical twin boys with autism. He does not have autism, but he's 40 years old. He is in great shape. He's super healthy. He eats right. He exercises every day, very thin, that type of personality, has 2 kids with autism. He had a heart attack, almost died, and needed a triple bypass at 40 years old because he had the worst form of MTHFR status you could. Okay. We put him on folinic acid. He will not have another heart attack, period. I have full confidence in that. Okay. Because of how folinic acid helps a lot of other parts of the body, not just autism. Okay. So, yes, I think everyone should take folinic acid, period. The question is dose. Okay. And dose is just experimenting. Laura, we buy through MandiMart, our nonverbal 5-year-old that just started using words. We've had up, open, and candle. Laura, that is awesome. These are the stories we need, Laura. Okay. We need stories like this so you can show other families how good you can have it, how improvements are there, and how hope is there. So thank you, Laura. Yoda, I give them, we see a lot of progress, but maybe with prescription difference, they told me. There's not. There is no difference. I'm sure they want to say that as propaganda, but there is. It's like when my wife and I were getting pregnant, we went to an OB-GYN, and the OB-GYN wrote a prescription for a prenatal vitamin. So we went to the pharmacy and got a prenatal vitamin. Trust me, it was crap. Okay. Well, I could get a better over-the-counter prenatal vitamin. I make better prenatal vitamins than what we got at the pharmacy. So just because it's a prescription doesn't mean it's better, worse, different. You've got to look at all these things individually. All right, Beverly, can you add it to goat milk? I would be careful with that. I don't know for sure, Beverly, but I'm worried about the casein preventing absorption. So I just don't know. Katrina, is the lack of folinic acid something they're likely to always need? Depends on the cause. If we're dealing with mitochondrial causes, then no, we can fix the mitochondria, and then that won't be necessary. If they've got MTHFR polymorphisms, yes. If they've got genetic causes for that tunnel to be broken, yes. The frat autoantibodies we can fix, and the mitochondria we can fix. So depends on the cause, but good question. Adi, if there is improvement, how long should we give? Until you see a plateau. This is what I tell my patients. Keep doing stuff until you just kind of straight line. Then let's do something different. Nargis, can you dissolve the powder in water? Yes. And you can put it in food too. It's a sweet taste. And Joe, I don't know if I told you this. Our folinic acid has xylitol in it. Okay, xylitol has a little sweet flavor, so it helps the kids take it well. It's not sugar, but it is a sweet taste. Some people don't like xylitol, so we are producing, and we should be out in a few weeks with a form that does not have xylitol. It actually has magnesium glycinate instead.
Oh,
so
wow.
For people who don't, yeah, we're going to have another option.
Yeah, that's very cool. You haven't told me that. That's awesome.
And even better news, I just heard last week, we're going to be getting folinic acid gummies. So
gummies?
There'll be 10 milligram folinic gummies. We won't get them until February or March, but we're starting production of them, which is fun. It's exciting. All right. Adi, is it okay to give melatonin with it? Completely. Except folinic acid in the morning, melatonin before bed. Janie, is there a consultant in the UK who is a clone of you? There is not a clone of me. I don't know if people want clones of me, but no. But again, we have a telemedicine practice. We're here to help regardless of where you are. Emma, if we're using another product, do we stop using it to switch? No, I wouldn't. This product's just folinic acid. All right. So if you're using like what you mentioned is a multivitamin, you're going to add it to that. Jacob, is there a blood frat test? Yes, it's only available as a blood test. Liz, I've already started my child on folinic acid. Would it be okay to switch to a dairy-free brand without starting the dosage from low again? Yeah, that's fine. Totally fine. Allison, what's the dose for an adult? Here's where I would still do the same thing as I do with kids. Start at 1 milligram, work up slow. When you get to 5 milligrams, you can go up to this max of 50. There are people who take more than 50. I'm not comfortable suggesting that unless I'm monitoring you as a patient. I share patients with Dr. Fry, and he's got some of his patients on 100 milligrams of folinic acid. Okay. But that kind of stuff, you want to be careful and make sure you're monitored. Audrey, my son is stuttering. What do I give him? What I like for stuttering is our temper tamer supplement. So it actually temper tamer affects cortisol, not folinic acid. But I find it helps stuttering a lot. Or our attention on the double product, which helps boost dopamine levels and is kind of it helps kind of that Parkinsonian kind of stutter, if you know Parkinson's. So different parts of the body, but we can definitely help with stuttering. Rudolph, can we buy super serotonin anger management in Europe? Yes, you can. MandiMart.eu or MandiMart.co.uk. Leslie, my adult 20-year-old has a genetic microdeletion on 7q11. Any advice? Well, here's what I would do. I need to look at those genetics, Leslie. So go to our website, Spectrum Awakening, and email me a copy of your genetic report. What I'll do is I'll look at it and I'll say, hey, I think I've got a treatment for this. Let's set up an appointment and I think we can help. Or I can look at it and say, you know what? I don't think I can help with this because some genetic conditions that cause autism are treatable. Some, not all. There was a great study came out of Harvard about 5 years ago that said 70% of genetic conditions that cause autism have a treatment. So until you get that genetic testing done, you don't know. I do, before you all jump into that, I've got an ebook on my website about genetics. So download and read that. Elior, is it okay to take on its own? Totally. Without food or water. Yeah, you can take it without food or water. I have some here. So this is our original dose of Folinic. And I will just open it up and it's got a cover on it. And so here we go. It's a powder. So again, I'm going to dump some of the powder into my hand. I don't know if you can see it there. I'll just eat it.
Just straight up.
Just straight up.
Dry scoop.
It's good. It's sweet. A little crunchy, but it's sweet. All right, Romelia. Do you give the dose all in one go or divide it up? Good question. I think once you get over 10 milligrams, you'll want to divide it up. So most of it in the morning, but you could do like, if you're doing 20 milligrams a day, you could do 10 and 10. Just be careful about the sleep issues. That's my worry. And then Adi says, we give the max dose. Do we give it all at once in the morning, which is what Romelia just asked. Again, you can divide it up into 2 doses. Some people do that, but my one big worry is that it affects sleep. So that's
if you're going to be splitting the dose, would you say have like a cutoff time in the afternoon? Like the last dose is like 6 p.m., 5 p.m. or
I would do it like right after school. You know, yeah. I'm not sure when the kids get home from school. My daughter, it's 3 o'clock. So yeah, you try it after school, see what happens. So
yeah, it's the same rule as coffee, like, you know, not too late in the afternoon and then you'll be all right.
I drink way too much decaf espresso. It's like 6 o'clock. I'm like, it's so good. It's so good.
Something that I'm probably thinking as well is if you're going to mix it with food or water, is it okay to mix it with like hot food?
Yeah, you can mix Folinic acid with any other supplements except I would not mix most supplements with binders. So if you're taking binders for gut treatments or for detox, I would do that. Now, got a couple other questions here, and then we'll wrap up for time. Narjace or Narjace says, would you recommend using Folinic acid to someone who shows the signs of autism but doesn't have the diagnosis? Yes, 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 and yes. This is just a vitamin, period. Okay? You may not want to do the high dose, but yes, this is a vitamin for brain development. We all need vitamins. Same question is, would you give vitamin C to somebody who doesn't eat fruit? Yes, because they're going to get scurvy without it. Yes, use it. And then last question is, Kuso says, how many teaspoons is equivalent to 10 milligrams? Well, it depends with our Folinic acid products. If you're using our original dose, that's going to be 1 1/4 teaspoons, which is about 6 milliliters. If you're using our high dose, then that's just 1/4 teaspoon, which again is 1.5, 2 milliliters. But again, the only difference between our high dose and our regular Folinic acid is the high dose is 5 times as concentrated. So the same, a serving of this is 1 milligram, same serving is 5 milligrams. So I like the high dose powder if you're using higher doses. Same stuff, it's just more compact. Okay. So last question here from Alex. Does Folinic acid help with conversation? It can. Again, it doesn't work for everybody, but it can. So I think my major points that I want to make for you guys is that there are so many things that we can do to help our kids on the spectrum. Okay. And I've been looking at this stuff for 20 plus years and all the time there's news, there's something else. There's more research, there's more science. there's something else that we can do to help these kids. So the first thing to do is keep hoping, keep trying, keep listening, keep doing, keep loving for your kids. Okay. And obviously the hot topic of the day is leucovorin. So I want you guys to try folinic acid and see how it helps. Okay. And again, it may work and be the best thing you've ever done. It may not do anything at all, but at least you've tried it, scratched it off the list so you can do something else. So thank you all for attending. Joe, thanks for having me here.
That's okay. I just want to say we did have a lot of people using this very fancy and good Q&A tab that we have on our new software. So I'll send those questions over to you. You can find some time in the next couple of weeks to answer them. That would be amazing. And then we can distribute those to the people who have asked those questions.
That sounds awesome.
We'll get the recordings out as well. Yeah, all good from me.
Perfect. Good. And everybody's saying thank you. Yeah, no, you're welcome, guys.
Try
it.
I did a poll. Was this webinar helpful? And we've got 100% said yes. So
yay!
Can't really.
Well, then you're gonna hear me. You're gonna hear more of me. Then we'll have more of these.
Actually,
Udoc says add a measuring scoop. I agree. Yeah, I'm gonna talk to my production.
Meaning to ask you. A few people do ask about that. Yeah, make a scoop, mate. Put it in there.
Yeah, I think. I'll talk to my producer. That's a very good idea. So,
I think it would be really helpful.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate the time, and almost an hour just flies by.
Yeah, but that's cool. We'll keep them short and sweet, and we'll get another one booked in.
Sounds great.
Right, you'll hear from me on WhatsApp.
Sounds good. Well, thank you again, Joe, for having me on. Thank you, everybody who's listening, and thank you, everybody who's doing what you can to help your kids. Okay, just keep that hope, keep that love. There's so much out there, stuff that we do in the autism field, and we want to get to you guys. And sometimes it's just a matter of connecting the people who know with the people who want to know. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you found Joe and MandiMart. There's a lot of great stuff out there.
Yeah. And don't forget, guys, there is the free ebook file that you can download, and all of the other ebooks that Jared made available on his website. They're all free. It's information, it's knowledge, it's something that can help you to help yourself or your child. So get reading.
Get reading. All right. Well, thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. And thanks, everybody, for listening.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for coming in and spending your time here. I know you were giving a similar talk recently at TACA in the US, which comes with quite a steep attendance bill compared to a free webinar. So it's incredible for you to give this level, this depth of expertise for free that other people in the US just paid quite a lot of money to go and attend and see you in person. So we really appreciate that.
Hey. Oh, you're welcome. Hey, if you know MandiMart, this is what you're going to get.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming, guys.
All right. Have a great week, everybody. Thanks for watching.
We'll see what we come up with for ones in the future. But as usual, we'll be emailing out information about that. We'll be sharing it on our social medias, which we've got going now. So if any of you guys are not following us on Instagram or TikTok, please go and do that. That would be very appreciated. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
All right. Thanks again. Bye, everybody.
Bye.